Good evening, you guys. It's Noelle with Baker's Backyard Bounty, and tonight is just a little bit different than the normal little stroll through the garden video. It's a topic that obviously I'm passionate about this, but also it's kind of a personal topic, and so I really have been sitting on making this video for a long time. And I think really I just, there's not shame when talking about recovery or healing your relationship with food and your body. There's no shame in that. I think why I've been hesitant to make the video is just I really wanted it to be cohesive and kind of just sit with my own journey and thoughts and reflections in order to communicate it best to you guys what this video is all about. So, based on the title, how the garden has really healed my relationship with food, I just want to put like a disclaimer out there that eating disorders are not healed just by gardening. Like, there's a lot of factors that create an eating disorder, and there's a lot of factors that help heal an eating disorder. So down below in the show notes, I'm gonna put some resources for you guys. Like if you are in this boat and struggling with food or restriction, binging, whatever it might be, like I just want you to know like you're not alone and you don't have to live that way forever, but you got to ask for help. So I'm gonna put some resources in the show notes. But I will say that in my own personal history, the garden and connecting with the process of growing food has really taught me a lot of lessons that really do like further my recovery, and actually have made this phase of my life going through an eating disorder. It used to be like just consuming, trying to recover, right? And now it feels like the edges are kind of fuzzy and blurry, and like it's in the past. And so I'm so grateful for that my life is filled up with so many more things now that just feels like kind of small. But I do want to revisit it because I think it's important, because there's a lot of us out there that are suffering or know somebody that really struggles with this. So this video is mainly just a personal account and just some reflections I've had, but trigger warning if talking about eating disorders and food stuff triggers you, then just like wait till I do another garden tour. There's like no problem with that. That'll come down the pipes really soon. Okay, so a quick little history. Like it can be, I don't know, a little like self-pressury to brand yourself, or I'm not actually trying to be an influencer. I just love sharing what we're doing and hope that I really do believe like suburbia can save the world. Like not all of us can have acreage, especially in my generation or in this season right now that we're in. But you can make a difference no matter if you live in an apartment or have a backyard or a patio, whatever it might be. Like I share a lot of this, hopefully to inspire some people to stop growing grass. Okay, that's the bottom line. But a little bit of history in terms of, there's a lot of complex situations and memories and experiences that make up a person. So I am more than just the gardener, the backyard gardener, or the chicken lady, or the one with the wild feral toddlers. Like there's a lot of experiences that make up who I am and that make up who you are. And that's what's so cool about life and community and getting to know people, is that we're complex beings. So a little bit of my history, I started gardening when I was in college at the University of Texas Community Garden. I think it was like the first year they built it. We helped build it. We painted the shed like a mural, and my sweet mom and dad came and helped me set up my little garden plot with tomatoes and squash. And it was bomb. It went off really good. My dad loves Miracle-Gro, so like that probably had something to do with it. I didn't really know about the organic gardening scene, but I had tons of tomatoes. I will say that. So that was really where I got started gardening and fell in love with growing food, fell in love with cooking. But what started to happen when I was in college is I felt really low, like self-esteem. I was struggling with just feeling good enough, had some trauma in the past, and it all just like came to a head when I went to grad school. I went through a breakup that was really hard for me. I lived by myself in a new city in Denton, and everything came to a head, and I felt like the only way to be good was to like fix myself and fix my body. And the way to do that was to just simply restrict as much as possible and control what I was eating and work out like crazy. And then I would be a good person and everyone would love me and I would love myself. And obviously that was a great plan until it was actually never a great plan, just saying that. Until I got to a point where my brain was consumed by calorie counting, by avoiding food, by avoiding outings that involved a restaurant. I remember being at a Mexican restaurant and literally with my mom after church, like just crying because the chips and salsa was sitting there. And one part of me wanted it and one part of me was terrified of it. If you were terrified of a basket of chips and salsa, you need some help, okay? So there you go. So finally, years down the line, I cried uncle and I was like, my brain is so much more valuable than just worrying about calorie counting. Like, also, like maybe I've controlled my body and morphed it into something that society would deem like good, but my insides were black. Like I was just so sad. I was so withery. It was horrible. It was a personal hell. So if you've ever been through it or you're going through it or you know someone like, oh, it's hard to just like box into a video, but just know that like you're not alone. Like there is hope on the other side. Okay, so that's what we're getting to. So went to the Renfrew Center, got some amazing tools. Honestly, just like cutting through the denial and honoring that I had an eating disorder was life-changing, and things started to shift from there. I am not going to paint it rosy. Like, it was not easy, okay? It basically challenged everything I had spent years building up of how to be good. It was like ripping that to shreds, right? And like pulling that apart. So I don't want to like gloss over that. Like, it was hard, but like so worth it, because I never wanted to start a family with that brain, right? Like I wanted to claim myself back so that I could show up not only for myself, but for like my future kids and for my partner and for my friends, right? And just like participate in my life instead of just like literally like surviving it or trying to wither myself away, which makes me so sad to even say those words. Okay, now to the garden part. So started gardening at UT. When I was in Denton in that lonely apartment, I remember having some really hard days, and what I would do is go and buy plants. Like, plants were kind of safe for me. Some people would go buy like ice cream or a Starbucks or whatever, which those are great things, but I would go buy plants, and that started to become something that was therapeutic for me, that was like healing, and gave me hope, right? I don't know why, but buying plants. So that started on my plant journey, becoming a plant lady. So here I am now, and I have this backyard garden, and it's our joy and our passion. I love sharing it. But really, like, the garden, first of all, the lesson that I have been seeing throughout these years of gardening here at our backyard is that, and forgive me if this is cliche or corny, but in order for the garden to bear fruit, it has to be nourished, right? And so in order for us to be able to handle the challenges that life throws at us, in order to handle emotions, in order to handle relationships, which are often like kind of challenging and triggering and can be hard. Good relationships are always usually hard, or have an element of challenge to it. But in order to handle all those things, you have to be nourished. And so like, if your brain is starved, it's going to be hard for your life to bear fruits, right? If you're so consumed with calorie counting, it's going to be hard for you to bear fruits and be present with someone in front of you. So if you're calorie counting, I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just saying there's life beyond that, okay? So in order to bear fruit in your life, you have to be nourished. And that doesn't just mean with food, although like that is step one. Like, get some food for your brain, please. But the second thing really is like being nourished spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Like, we have to nourish all those dimensions of ourselves in order to really thrive. And just like that in the garden, like, I have to nourish the roots, and I have to trellis the tomatoes, and I have to pick the fruit when it's ripe. And like, there's layers to nourishing that plant, and it evolves over time. And so maybe that's the first step, right? Is you just ask yourself, like, what do I need to be nourished? Okay, the second thing that the garden has taught me when it comes to recovery, especially like healing a relationship with your body and your food, is that nature works in rhythms, right? Like spring comes and things pop out of the ground, and then fall comes and the leaves move to the earth, and winter comes and things go dormant, and like there is just a divine rhythm to life. I talk to Reed about it all the time of like, this is proof that there is more than us, man, is the way that nature works. It is incredible, and so intelligent. And your body, you are a part of nature, okay? Like, you're not separate, you are a part of nature. And I think when we realize that, we're gonna heal a lot of things, like hopefully the climate, when we realize we are a part of nature. And so you work in rhythms, and your body functions in seasons and cycles, okay? And so like hunger and fullness, it's taught me so much about just like honoring the coming and the going, right? The hunger and the fullness, the fluctuation, the expanding, the contraction, like life just works in rhythms. And when I use the word seasons, that's also something like, especially with women, there could be this pressure to like preserve and be a certain shape, size, way, whatever, like present yourself a certain way. And it's like we're trying to pickle ourselves a little bit and just like freeze ourselves in time. But my body should not look like, feel like, respond to the world like it did in high school. Okay, so like that shape, size, stamina, energy level has changed over time because I'm not in high school anymore. And I have two beautiful daughters that are marked on my body forever. They changed it, man. And I saw somebody call their stretch marks like love marks, like they're love marks, because they were just so happy that it brought them their children. And I know that for some of us that's a stretch to see our body changing that way as a love mark or a positive thing, but man, I hope you can get to that point where you do, because it's so true. Like, you're doing incredible things with your body, and your body's incredible because it's keeping you alive every day. So it knows the rhythms, it knows the cycles. Like, you have a natural set point of the time of life you're in, the season of life you're in. Your body knows what to do, so we just have to trust it, let it be at that set point, nourish it, take care of it, honor its cues. And nature all around us is doing that constantly. I have planted so many seeds at the wrong time of the year and they will not sprout, but when I do plant them at the right time, they take off. And so timing, honoring the rhythm, honoring the season of life that you're in, it's just nature shows us all of these things on a daily basis, and it does it so well. And just the last thing I'll hit on, and I know I'm being kind of like woo-woo, poetic, whatever, but it's true. Like, this depth comes from a space of really trying to listen and learn. Last thing, when we're talking about seasons, like letting your body change over time. The garden, this is the lesson I'm in right now. The garden lets go, okay? It releases, it dies. And there are beliefs or parts of us or relationships that might be toxic that we don't release, we don't let it die. And like I've talked about in past garden tours, like it's so hard for me to let a plant go, even when I know like this thing ain't gonna fruit and something else needs to come in, right? Like a new plant, like cauliflower needs to come in, okay? I gotta let the tomatillos go. But it's so hard for me to let that go. And that's true in my life too. Like I've talked about before in a past video, of letting go is hard. And so letting go of control, which is a big part of an eating disorder, is hard. Letting go of manipulating your body constantly is hard, right? It feels kind of scary. But on the other side of control is freedom. And the garden teaches me that if I can let go of what is no longer serving me or no longer fruitful or no longer appropriate for the season, the new fresh crops can come in, new fresh energy can burst, right? And like that's constantly what's happening. So all this to say, the garden is therapeutic. Food is so amazing and so creative and so fun to grow. And there's so many lessons to learn within the garden. So I just want to thank you for, if you did hang on tight and got to this point in the video, like thank you for hanging in there with me. And yeah, get you some soil and grow something and let it teach you the lessons that it holds. So, all right, may you find the bounty in your own life and all the beauty that it holds, because it is there. It is there. And we'll see you soon.